Sarah drew the short straw. Our matriarch has finally given birth to her first child, Isaac. All is wonderful until she sees Ishmael, the son of the Egyptian slave Hagar, playing with her beloved baby. She immediately tells Abraham to cast them out so that the son of the slave will not share in her own son's inheritance. You know, that inheritance that God promised to Abraham only a few chapters ago. Abraham follows his wife's order, and Hagar finds herself and her child in the wilderness with nothing but some bread and a canteen of water. Hagar has no resources, and the outlook is bleak. It is not until God sends an angel to this mother and child that we can breathe a sigh of relief. God has ensured that they will live and that Ishmael too will become a great nation. And who is to blame for this harrowing ordeal? Why does it even come about? Well, of course, it was Sarah's order that left a woman and child at the brink of death in the wilderness. Despite that, I still believe Sarah drew the short straw. I realize it doesn't look good for her. She comes off cold and selfish when she tells Abraham to send Hagar and the child away so that her child doesn't have to share his inheritance, so there will be no question as to who is the rightful heir of Abraham. Yes, her actions are not in the spirit of our tradition that tells us to care for the poor, the orphan, the widowed in our midst. Her seemingly self-absorption contradicts the welcome, the warmth, and the caring we hope to see in our role models. I realize that Sarah's choice in this moment feels unforgivable, and unreasonable. Our initial response is to vilify her. But what if we took a moment to ask why? What led her to demand this of Abraham? Let us consider all that supersedes this verse, all that Sarah has experienced in just the first few chapters of Parshat Vayera. First, she is confronted by 3 strangers in her home. Claiming to be messengers of God, they relay that after years of barrenness, she will finally conceive a child. This is so mind-boggling that Sarah laughs and is immediately chided by God for this chuckle. I do not imagine that it felt good to be chastised by God for showing less than pure joy and appreciation for the ensuing miracle, especially since a few verses later, her husband has the audacity to debate God's choice to destroy cities, and he has continued to be lauded as a hero to this day. The parsha continues, and Sarah is denied her place at her husband's side, reliving an experience she has already had earlier in Genesis. Abraham tells yet another king that Sarah is not his wife, but his sister. Sarah is left in a vulnerable position without the protection that marriage provides in a patriarchal society. In the first iteration of this tale, Abraham claims he is worried about his safety because Sarah is so beautiful. But it seems what he actually learned is that he can walk away from this lie with a significant amount of livestock and riches. King Abimelech takes Sarah, and we assume from God's later rebuke of him that she is forced to lie with him. Finally, in her 90s, Sarah has her first child. Can you imagine being 90 and postpartum Can you imagine being 90 and having to wake up at all hours of the night to feed an infant? Can you imagine being that age, finally getting what you have always wanted, and at the same time realizing just how hard it is to be the mother of a newborn? I imagine a sleep-deprived, overwhelmed Sarah walking into a room and seeing a young Ishmael playing just a little too roughly with her newborn gem, and her mama bear instincts kick in. Realizing that no one has ever defended her, no one has helped her, and that her child needs her. What other choice does she have but to send Hagar and Ishmael away? Sarah cannot risk another moment of being pushed aside, or she and her child will be left with nothing. So you can see, Sarah drew the short straw. We're quick to judge her because we disregard her in her entirety. We do not take the time to hear her side, to consider her situation, to realize what she is up against. We do not have to agree with her actions, but to demonize her without placing this moment into the context of her entire life is no more moral or ethical than her banishment of another mother and child. I certainly wish Sarah had made a different choice. But if we place this one act within a larger story, her larger story, then her actions have context, making it harder to disregard her as simply cruel or evil. It's not surprising that we judge Sarah by one action without understanding her story. We live in cancel culture. Step out of line one time and you're banished. We stay in silos of social media where we follow and hear only the points of view that we agree with. We choose communities, newspapers, even fast food restaurants where we feel like our views are the majority because we don't want to be bothered by or contribute to the other people. We don't want to hear from someone we disagree with, and we assume that they are bad because their choice doesn't align with ours. Why be challenged by people who are wrong if we know we're right? However, the choices of others come out of their lived experiences, just as Sarah's did, and just as ours do too. Their choices and ours have a rationale, a motivation, and a sense of purpose. Often, we even agree on the value. It is simply the way that we act out these values that is deeply different from one individual to the next. Unfortunately for Sarah, her demand to cast out Hagar is the last moment we hear from her. The next biblical citation of Sarah comes at the beginning of the next parsha, when we learn of her death. We'll never have the chance to speak more with Sarah, to discuss what drove her to send the other woman away for the sake of her own son. We'll never get the chance to think about her motives. We can never teach Abraham how he could have reassured Sarah of her and Isaac's place in their family, helping her to make a more compassionate choice towards the other woman and the other child. Sarah will always draw the short straw because we will never have the opportunity to engage with her and to try and open a dialogue. Sarah will never get the chance to make a different choice. But if we put her actions in context, we have the chance to stop demonizing her, to stop defining her as a callous, inconsiderate person because of one act. I worry that if we continue to treat others in our world the way that we have treated Sarah, then we, like Sarah and Hagar, will forever be pitted against one another. The only way to reverse division is to sit together and to see the other as someone with their own narrative that deserves to be considered. Our tradition highlights the idea of chavruta, a sparring, steady partner who will push us to think and see things in a new way. We cannot grow without having our views of the world challenged, nor can we be sure of our views if we never have to defend them. Most importantly, when we engage with one another, we can begin to see each other as holy and to discern the divine that lives between us. Shabbat Shalom.